Hey, but before I get into and bring on my guest, my man Elgin Lofton, hey, I just wanted to make sure everybody's staying safe out there. Wear your mask. We're still getting this virus, the variant that's going around is wreaking major havoc in the South. So our prayers are up, but we got to be smart, man. I mean, you got people out there that refuse to wear a mask and refusing to get vaccinated and all that type of stuff. I know the vaccination is a personal thing, but, just do what you need to do to stay safe. That's just the bottom line. We got a governor recall. Everybody just voted for that. So we're trying to see what the outcome of trying to recall Governor Newsom. The one of the questions I've always asked is, what did Gavin Newsom do that was so bad that he deserves to be recalled? What policy, what policy, what laws did he break? What this man do? I thought he did a very good job getting us out of the pandemic. So we're hoping that turns out positive, and then we can keep him on as governor. And then in next year, he has to run again. So if he doesn't get elected again, then that's on him. Hey, there's also a lot of stuff going on about Sha'Carri Richardson. The such a talented sprinter who smoked weed, couldn't go to the Olympics. And then she had that race and she came in last, and everybody's talking about that. We were kind of going in on Facebook. This guy was defending her, and which is cool. Where I lost it with her was when Allison Felix was being interviewed by Stephen A. Smith, and Allison Felix was asked the question, "Hey, what do you think about Sha'Carri Richardson?" And Allison Felix simply said, "Hey, we need to rally around her." I'm paraphrasing. We need to support her. And then what happens is Sha'Carri Richardson goes in on Allison Felix. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? So anyway, the dude was making excuses for it. I'm like, man, look, that's black on black crime. Somebody, a veteran in the game, the most decorated Olympic athlete in history, says we just need to rally around here and support you. And then you jump on her, and that's just silly, man. That's just beyond silly. But anyway, pray for her. Hope she gets it together. She's an ultimate talent. She has a long career here. Hope she, does well in the future. Just real quick, I've been keeping an eye on this R. Kelly trial. Man, it's been some damning evidence coming after him. That brother there, he just should have got together. What he did was just egregious. He was wrong, and he deserves whatever's coming to him for the atrocities that he committed. He was caught up in 2008. He got away with it. And he goes, and then now we are again in 2021. He should have been a choir boy after that. He should have been, if I got caught up in that, something like that, accused, after that, I would have been the second coming of Jesus. You would have thought I was God. I'd have been so good. I'd have been donating money to charities to help women and kids, and I'd have been doing. He's from Chicago. I'd have got involved in the violence in Chicago. I would have did free concerts, raise money for abused mothers, paid for education for kids. Man, I'd have been totally. I mean, you wouldn't have called. My name would have been like gold. But, when you're sick like that, it just happens. So anyway, I just want to cover those couple of things. I'm going to bring on my man, Elgin Lofton. He is been a friend of mine for a very, very long time. And, I know about his story, and I thought it would be really good to share his story with you guys. So I'm going to bring my man on. Elgin.
Rich.
My man. How you doing, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. It's good to see you, Rich.
Oh, man, it's good to see you, man. I'm just just seeing your life, man, and seeing how you come back, man. And it's just, I tell you, man, it's a blessing, man. It's motivating to me, man. And your story needs to go to the masses, man. Because what you've been through and how God has worked in your life. And I see you, man, is that after somebody does, and we won't get into your story, but after somebody does that long of a prison sentence, a lot of times they end up bitter, they become institutionalized, and you're exactly the opposite, man. I mean, you're just letting God work in your life, man. Powerful, brother.
Yes.
So let's go back, man. We met summer of '84, right? It was our sophomore year at Hawthorne High School, right? Me, you, Kev, Tramel, Trevon, man, we had talented, football squad. And that's where we first met, man.
Right. Tony Church and on.
Tony, yeah, oh yeah, Church, the man, probably one of the best athletes I've ever seen, Tony Church. And I just remember, man, going back to high school about you is just being just a solid guy, man. Very nice, quiet, very nice, not someone that was ever involved in trouble or anything like that. Just being a real good, solid guy, man. Being a young man that you were, man, where'd that come from? Was it your upbringing? Was it your family? What was it that you just pretty much a really square dude? I mean, not square, but you just really good young man.
I think, Richard, first and foremost, I was super, super, super blessed in that I was raised with two parents.
Oh man.
As I get older, through the years I've gotten older, I realized the importance of having a two-parent home, and growing up under that tutelage. I had a mother who was loving and it was kind, and I had a father who was loving but tough. And and so having two parents, I think that let's just say if I just had one parent, I would have tested Mom's, because she whipped me a couple times being young, and I was like, okay, I can handle that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you weigh stuff, it. So a lot of things that kept me from trouble, I was like, nah, Paul, I'm not letting Pops put them paws on me no more.
Man. Yeah. I know. I mean, and I think that one of the real prevailing issues of young Black men is that 75% of us are raised in single households without our fathers, and that's really why a big factor. I think that is the biggest issue in the Black community is not having a father. And you had your father, man, and I saw that in your walk every day, man. You just a solid guy, man. So we go in our junior year, you playing football, you doing well, you starting D tackle. And I think, what did you make all conference our junior year? I think you made all conference defense. You did. Okay. So high school, man. And then you were on the was that the Glee Club you were on? You guys
right. No, yeah, it was called the Knights. It was called the Knights.
The Knights.
That was a club that we had in high school, quote unquote. It was the top men of the campus in the sense. Quote unquote.
I remember seeing you around there, Elgin. I was like, Elgin's the only brother in that group. No, I think there might have been no, you were the only one, or there might have been one other one.
Richard Anderson.
Richard Anderson. That's right. Yeah, and both of you guys were just like
𝐿𝐒
𝐿𝐒 is Richard Anderson. Was real smart and real solid like you. And then Cole ended up going on. He's in the I think he's in Air Force, right?
Well, he's retired now, but he was flying. He was flying Biden. That was his job, to fly Biden when under the Obama, under the 8 years with Obama. But now he retired, and he just thought that was just too, he wasn't ready to retire. So now he's with Delta now. Now he's flying Delta, flying everybody around.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah. So you were in
United. My bad. United.
So he working with Mike Hanna, huh?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yes. Oh, man. Small world. Yeah, I see Mike Hanna, man. Being he way up there in the ranks now, man.
Oh yes, he's doing it.
He's doing his thing. I always knew, because he was always a smart guy, man. So you're in that elite. We call it the elite club. You were a buppy, a Black yuppie. That's what we call it. So Richard Anderson, yeah, and you guys, and then your pathway is like it was just set up. So anyway, you did well in football. You never heard anything bad about you, man. Never any trouble, never any mischief, never Never, because Hawthorne was a rumor mill. Never any rumors about you or anything. Just a solid guy, man. So then we end up graduating from Hawthorne and we go on El Camino. And there we start our college football career, you and I. And then I went on to play. Then I think you redshirted your first year, right? Redshirt.
Well, actually, Richard, I went on to Grambling State. I went to HBCU.
That's right.
Right.
So you went there because I think a couple of people came out of Hawthorne and went to Grambling, right?
Well, Kev went to Southern.
Kevin went to Southern. That's right.
Yeah, but before us, Miles went and Tyrone went. They kind of took me on under.
Right. So tell me about Grambling. What was that Grambling? What made you come back? What did you experience there? I know it's not like, I know back in those days, they historically black colleges, they better now than they were back then. So
right.
So tell me about your experience there.
Well, you know what, Richard, it was a great experience. I owe HBCU so much just in my 1 year there because it opened up my eyes really into our culture. Growing up in LA, I still wasn't deep into our culture. Then we went to a predominantly mixed school, but even though it was mixed, we didn't have any say so. In a sense, it was still ran it was still ran the European way all the way.
Exactly.
And which I didn't have a problem with, but it's just that when I was able to leave and go to this school in the deep South and realize man, my eyes had opened to this life, what goes on and how they think. That's when I found out about, Juneteenth. I never heard of Juneteenth until I was 19 years old. And I remember some of the kids down there, the Southern kids, they were like, huh? And I'm playing it off at the same time and just learned a lot. I end up coming back home because I still wanted to play ball. I wasn't going to get the opportunity that I needed because, like everywhere, football is political, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I had to start all over. I couldn't just jump on that squad there without being endorsed or not being someone sending the letter to Coach Eddie Robinson, which was a great brother. And just being around him and watching him do things and hearing all the tales about him was history within itself.
Right.
And so I ended up coming back home, and then that's when I got in contact with Coach Justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you chose El Camino.
Yeah, then they chose El Camino, man. We just came out there. What it was, El Camino had the previous year had won a national championship. Junior college national championship, and I heard so much about it, and I heard the dudes talking about it. And then they showed me a list of everybody's going D1, everybody's going D1, and then more than anything, some of the dudes they were saying it was because where we from in the South Bay, we had a good team, very good team. However, though we wouldn't compare. They would still say well, the city. The city schools, y'all couldn't play with the city schools. Y'all can't play with y'all can't play with the Bannings. Y'all can't play with the Carson. Y'all can't play with these dudes. So remember, Coach Justice went to Hawthorne High too, and he told me, and he had mentioned, he said, well, man, we got the Carson and Banning, we got all the city kids, the Dorseys, we got all the city kids here. And so if you can get on the field here and compete with them, you know your high school can compete with them. And that was like a challenge in the back of my mind also. And I get out there, and so much. It was the most talent I've seen.
Yeah.
And get out, and so it brought the best out you.
That's right.
And so it ended up going there the couple of years and just having a phenomenal time. We had a great time, and then finishing. It was just like Coach Justice has said. I had a choice. Where do I want to go? It was really where do I want to go?
Wow. Man, that's good, man. So you choose UNLV. So what made you choose UNLV?
Well, it came down. I know it sounds weird though, but it really came down to Hawaii or Oklahoma. I took it.
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Wow.
I took that recruit trip down there, and that was for the first time I felt like a little intimidated. I said, I don't know if I belong down here. uh, it was just real. It was real. It was just I just wasn't sure. The problem was what I was scared of. It was a lot of the LA dudes were
really?
down there. Yeah, it was a lot of the LA dudes were down there at the time too, and it was just it was pretty wild up there. And I just thought, and I saw, you know what I said, you know what, I'm just gonna just stay near home. And some people said, man, that was a bad decision. They still said to this day, well, you know, if you would have went to Oklahoma, you know, that's all you needed to do was just start 1 year. You didn't have to start both years, or just get some game time. You would have opportunity to go to the league or what's so, and moving forward.
Right. Wow. Yeah, man, that's power football there, man. That's that Southern. So, did you go on a trip to Hawaii?
I did.
Okay, how was that?
And Hawaii was beautiful. Hawaii was beautiful because I never been to Hawaii. And so one of the assistant coaches had told me, he said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And he said, a lot of the dudes that, you know, we have come here, you know, they don't get homesick. You know, I see you have a mother and a father. You probably will get homesick. A lot of these dudes probably, you know, we got a lot of dudes from the city in LA and around this area get to come. Most of them come from like broken homes and they really won't be missing anybody. And I just thought that was like, and I knew he wasn't telling me not to come. He was just telling me is that you just can't go home on the weekends. You in Hawaii. Yeah. You won't be able to, you know, and if it's the holidays, it can't, you know, you're not going home on a 3-day holiday. You know, you're going to go home at Christmas time and at the end of the year. That's just going to be it. That's basically what he was telling me. And so I respect him for telling me that, though, because I just never thought of that. For some reason, I guess I was thinking like, okay, on a Labor Day weekend, I'll go home. Like I was in Vegas. I'll go home on Labor Day weekend or something. And that wasn't the case. And so they invited me down during a Christmas bowl game. They played Michigan State, and I think Blake Ezel ran for like 1,000 yards against them. They lost, but it was just a beautiful weekend for me.
Blake Ezel.
Like he was a running back out of Las Vegas, a popular school called Bishop Gorman, and then he ended up going to Michigan State. And then he ended up going to the Denver Broncos for a couple years, but he had a problem with addiction, and I don't want to go too much deeper in that though. But that kind of slowed him down.
Got it. So okay, so you had Oklahoma, that's good, man. You had Hawaii, and then you decide to go to UNLV.
Right.
So you decided on the Rebels. What was it about the Rebels? You went to Vegas, got the trip into Vegas, and you said, "This is where I'm going to be." So what brought that decision?
I guess the nightlife. I guess we can keep it real. At 19, the nightlife, the strippers. You know, I'm lost, Rich. Oh man, you know, we 19 years at that time, and the clubs, and you know, I'll be honest with you. At 19, I said, you know what? I'm gonna marry a stripper. I'm gonna fall in love.
I'm in love with a stripper.
Right.
Yeah, man. Okay. So you go there, roll to UNLV. That's cool, and you play ball there. So how was school? I mean, how was life in LV? How was school? How was the football?
Phenomenal. At the time when I went to UNLV, the football team was just very mediocre. However, though, during the time that I was there, it was a basketball school, and I've never had so much fun in my life. We won the national championship the year I was there.
That's right.
And then the following year, we went to the national championship game and lost it. But the 2 years I was there, it was unbelievable. We traveled, we went everywhere. The guys, it was just a beautiful time. You know, but it's UNLV is a very special school. As we know, athletes get taken care of all over, but you start seeing like what taken care of really is like. Your eyes start opening up to like, okay, this is big time college sports.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I remember like Larry Johnson and all them, and you guys had a serious basketball squad.
Right.
And, but I didn't know it was like that there. I mean, I know that. I know the basketball players got taken care of, but I didn't know that went over to football and sport. I didn't know that.
Well, because of the winning that the team did, what UNLV did to what the basketball team did in about a 5-year span, but particularly those 2 years, I come to put it this way, I come to UNLV, barely had 10,000 students. Within 3 years of winning the national championship, losing the national championship, and still being highly competed within a 3-year span, UNLV went from 10,000 students to 20,000 students because of that. The basketball team brought kids to the university, from double the population in a 3-year span. The school is kind of like what it is today right now, because if you go by the school now, you'd be like, look at this huge school now.
Yeah.
It's because of what really 3 or 4 years of basketball did and what it did as far as financially to do those things.
Got it. Okay. So you have a good time, you stay there, you play your 2 years of ball, and so you end up staying at UNLV.
Yeah.
To come back to Gardena, with mom and pops.
Well, yeah, too much. It was just too much fun, Rich. It was too much fun. And in the midst of that, I got offered a job. And so when I got offered a job, the gentleman had told me, he said, well, why don't you come work for me, but you got to graduate first. Okay. I had 2 classes left. And I said, okay. And I actually walked. 1991, I walked. The school went ahead and let me walk, even though I was 2 classes short. They'll let you walk if you're within a semester short. And they can make these universities has the opportunity to do that. Pretty much all of them, they can do that. So I was like, okay, I'll go back and get my degree. And Richard, I started working this job, and it was a job, period. It was a check. You was getting paid I got paid $100,000. I was getting paid at least $100,000.
In 1991?
In 1991.
Wow.
In 1991, the job I was doing. And so, and I never went back.
Well, in 1991, you living in Nevada. First of all, even living in LA in 1991. Right. LA was cheap in 91. It was cheap. It was a working man's. When we were growing up, it was a working man's city. Mm-hmm. If you making $100,000 in 1991, you were in the top 1% of Black America, of earnings in Black America. I can say that if you make $100,000 today, you're probably in the top 5, top 10% of earnings within the Black race. That's amazing, man.
But the thing about it is that you didn't think you made that much. I didn't think I made that much because you spent money like that. You spent money like that. Everywhere you did, you spent money like that. You took care of everybody. And so you was just, you always, you was trying to buy the club, and you was popping bottles everywhere you went. And so you needed to keep it up. You needed to keep it up. And then moving forward, man, that's kind of like how I got involved with what led me to those penitentiary years.
Right. So here's you could, and please enlighten, because I don't want to presume that I'm correct, but so you can clear that. But I heard you linked up with Marquette. Now Marquette was the polar opposite of you in high school. Marquette, we went to high school, audience. He's one of the guys he went to high school with. Marquette was, dealing drugs back then. And I remember he's working at Circuit City, and he was stealing TVs from a job and selling them and all that type of stuff. So he was a polar opposite of you. So, and I know you guys knew each other in high school. We all knew Marquette. I mean, just a guy we knew, How did you guys connect? To start from there, how did you guys connect?
How did we connect? Catching the bus to school. Catching the bus to school. I would catch the bus. I would get on the one bus and just get on El Segundo, because I lived off El Segundo and Western.
Right.
And so I would just get on El Segundo, and it'd take me up to Inglewood Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would get on also, but he would get on at Crenshaw.
Yeah.
He would get on at Crenshaw and then take it up.
Huh? Yep. Crenshaw. Yep.
Right. And so, because he lived in Watergate, I lived in Shotgun.
Yeah, I grew up in IBC.
Right.
Yeah, I was in the village. Yep.
So, and then we just kind of like end up talking. It was so weird though, because people have always said like opposite attract. I wasn't sure what it was. He ended up coming out for the football team. So we ended up so he ended up coming to the football team. And so I would like try to give him like a little tips and like, you need to work on this or this. Yeah. And before you know it, it's like, I don't know, man, he grew on me. Wow. He grew on me. And I think what it was is that what happened was somehow he ended up getting a car, as we know how he got the car. Yeah, he ended up getting the car.
White BMW.
Right. And then end up just picking me up every morning. And I was like, this is cool. I can do this.
Okay.
And that's just kind of like how the friendship started.
Wow. Okay, so you go away to LV. So at El Camino, and are you guys staying in touch?
No, because what happened was he ended up going to the Army.
That's right.
Yeah, he went to the Army, and we might have had talked a couple times, but not really. Somehow it might have been like once a year we might have shared a word or whatever, and that was kind of like it. However, though, he ended up coming. Somehow we just end up finding each other when I was in Vegas. And I just said, well, you need to come down one weekend. Let's have a good time. And he came down one weekend, and I really showed him a good time. I think the weekend I was running a club, and I think I introduced him to like Jamie Foxx. I introduced him to a few people that night, and he was just really wild off of it. And then I guess he started thinking and started putting two and two together. One particular weekend, he just said, you know what? How would you like to make a few more dollars? And that was like the beginning of it.
Wow. Make a few more dollars. Okay. So you already making.
I'm already making six figures.
You already making six figures.
I'm already making six figures.
And then, I mean, look, people become millionaires and they want more money. So that's normal.
Right.
But, that is nothing normal. We always want to see, we got to make money. We want to make more money, but you were making a honest living with $100 grand a year in the 90s, which is big money. And then this guy we knew was the polar opposite of you, came at you with something illegal. All right. Mm-hmm. So, and what was your decision and why did you make that decision? What went into that decision to go ahead?
I believe what went into it was just where I have allowed myself to get into that position of, once I start making the little taste of that 100,000, and how that started to change me, because I was changing from the outside world. It was like, look at Big E, man, he doing it. He bought a house. He got cars. He got the clothes. He got some cash in his pocket, and so they seeing it. But on the inside, though, I was ruining myself. I started becoming more so of an alcoholic. The wife that I originally married and loved her to death, but I got into that nightlife, and all of a sudden, somebody asked me, "What's better than one girlfriend?" Two. Why you ask me some dumb shit? And that was my mentality, and I started thinking that way. So when he came and asked me about it, I was like, you know what? What could it be like? I said, man, okay, well, let's see. And then one day I was like, yeah, I can do this. And so, man, I got involved, and I started doing this, and I was doing whatever I can to build it into another level and help what he had going on, just make it execute to another level. And by him being able to deal with me, He was able to kind of stay out the way. I kind of came in and kind of took over his role, and so he wouldn't, and his hands wouldn't really be dirty, in a sense.
I see. So, he already has this business running, right? He already has his baby in motion. He's already doing it himself, right?
Right.
So he was in the Army. Was he living in LA? He was living in LA, right?
Well, yeah, he had moved back to LA after his Army years. At this time, he was living with his dad.
Got it. So he was already doing this in LA. Now he had already had his own network of people he was doing this with already before he came to you. He had his own operation set up, right?
Right.
So then he comes to you and he says, so what does he come with you with? I mean, of course, how much you want to share is really up to you, but I'm just saying is, what does he come with you, and how does it start? What is this proposition to you?
Well, the proposition was he needed it to for it. He had a plan, but his plan couldn't work. It has some holes in it, because just dealing for things to go to LA go straight to LA, it couldn't work. But I was able to get things in order in Vegas.
In Vegas, right? Because LA was hot as far as any type of
right,
drug.
right,
People going to Minnesota, Seattle, Oklahoma, they were getting out.
Right.
So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Right.
So he wanted. Okay. So he was dealing with what was it? Was he selling crack? What was it? Powder? What was he selling?
Well, the indictment was crack. The diamond was cocaine. The diamond was weed. So it was those three things.
Okay. So cool. So he has this thing. So how are you helping him expand his operation? What exactly are you doing?
Well, the main thing I was able to do was the money laundering.
Okay.
That was the main thing. As far as selling drugs and that would just be on me. But he really, really needed me, and he allowed me to do those things, the benefits in a sense. But the main thing I could do, it was no problem for me to flip $1 million or $2 million. It was no problem for me to flip that or to clean that. Because of where the places that I was working and the type of revenue that they brought in. So it was no like if I had $1 million in my hand, I can give it to one of the secretaries, like, can you clean that for me? And in 20 minutes she cleaned it for me, and I got $1 million in ones, and now I got $1 million in hundreds, and got it all bandaged up and everything.
Got it. Interesting. So you were the person. See that anybody that's in a drug game, you sitting on all this cash that you can't do anything with, because you got to have somebody like you that can clean it, that can launder it into a legitimate business, or have a way where you can wash it, which means you can pretty much have this money that's usable, because you can't walk around with $30, $40, $50, $100,000 cash. Think you're gonna walk? You can't go buy a car for $100,000 cash. They're gonna call the feds.
Mm-hmm.
You can't walk into a bank and deposit $300,000. A brother, they're gonna call the feds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the huge challenge. So people don't know that's the huge challenge for drug dealers. You got to find a way to you can sit on $1 million cash. What do you got to find a way to wash it. You got to find a way to hide it. So that is a very important. So that's where he uses you for. So all right, cool. So you launder the money, you wash it. So tell me how the money's flowing in. What kind of money you making? How's life now? We go to a geometric level. You already making $100,000 a year. Now you bringing all this extra money. Oh, we had a whole nother level. Well,
right.
For the
well, put it this way, life became instantly. I was starting to ruin myself at that point. I remember that, like, the following year, I had made a couple $100,000 besides my $100,000. And then it was about 2 years. I might have made about $600,000 or $700,000. I never got it to $1 million. I always said I wanted to get to $1 million. So this lasted for about 5 years. We had about a 5-year run, and it was about this is 600,000-700,000 was those were my top last couple years that I had made, and at that time, you know, you couldn't tell me SHIT at that time. And so I sit here and I see these young dudes. I see like Ezekiel Elliott. I see some of the Cowboys, and I see them at this age, at 21. You give them that kind of money, and then they act up a little bit. I can resonate with a little bit of that, just a little bit of that, because I'm saying, like, I'm sitting here at a young age, and I'm saying, I can't even spend this. You can't tell me what to do. You know, I feel like you can't tell me nothing, even at my income that I was making at the time, though. So yeah, man, life I got.
So man, look, I was at Cal State Fullerton, and I was working for $12 an hour. I can't imagine making that kind. I know people in the drug game. There's some people in the drug game that were making $1 million a day, of course, but that was their life. But within our circle in 91, 92, especially in Nevada, where things are less expensive anyway, and if you make a 600,000, that's $1 million in LA. I mean, you look at the cost of living. So that's a lot of money back then, man. And wow, man. So you're making all this money. So tell me about, what are you buying? Are you taking lavish trips? You buying a house?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, we're taking all these trips. But we we had some bachelor parties that we went to in Costa Rica, and we traveled the world, and it was money buys you anything, man. And you know, I go back. You know, you making me revise, go back on some of my old days and some of those memories, and it's like, yeah, man, I wish I would share them. I remember there was a time when we was at the club, and I think his name is JD. He used to sing "Money Ain't a Thing."
Yeah.
Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri. Yeah.
We was in the club, and I think this particular day, I think I was supposed to give 𝐿 some money. I think I gave him like $1 million that day, and we in the club that night, a private party. JD had the private party. His song comes on, "Money Ain't a Thing." He's so gone. He takes out hundreds and throws in the air at JD singing "Money Ain't a Thing" on his own song.
Wow. Yeah,
man, it was you know, you look back on it now, Rich, and you say how foolish, how foolish. How did I let myself get to a certain point, or even put myself in that position? But as we know, man, everything, you know, there's a down point to everything. You know,
it's a trade-off.
It was a trade-off.
It's a trade-off. So I know money and things. You got money coming in like water. You got parties. You got women. You popping bottles with celebrities. You are totally on a high, man. For 5 years, you are totally on a high.
Right.
I mean, so just starting from the time before you got this money, you said you know how you really enjoy being in school at UNLV. So the time you touch down in Nevada, your life is just a straight out party.
Yeah.
So you know, there's a 7-year run, right?
Right.
2 years got there, 7-year just flat out party and high life. And when we're in this, man, we don't think about the end, right? You don't think about the end.
You don't think you're gonna get busted.
Right.
You don't think you're gonna get busted. You don't think you're gonna get caught. You're like, okay, man, I got this time. I got it. I know the right people. I know I can get this done. I can keep this moving. You start thinking like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do 3 years from now, 4 years from now. Yeah, like almost like you're doing everything legitimate. Like if you have a legitimate job and you're making a certain amount of money, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna be here then, because your job is legitimate. You notice what you're gonna do every year, and that check is automatic. It comes like that. And so, but when you're doing this, it's not. You think it's gonna last forever, but it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
So you take lead on the operation, right? And Marquette kind of steps into the background. So are you pretty much running the show? I mean, the money. So are you have anything to do with the drugs? Or are you just laundering the money?
I'm pretty much on the money side.
Okay.
I'm pretty much on the money side of things.
Got it. Okay, so you just handling the money because you had a legitimate business to run to watch this money through.
Right.
Correct. Okay, that's a very important. So you were the key to his operation, pretty much.
Right.
At least. Yeah, I guess you were. Right. Wow, man. And it's a trip. I'm like, wow, man. I knew about some of this, but I know about all that. Just a young man, just a solid guy like you. Hey, man. I did my time too. Nothing like you, but I got in trouble with the law too. I didn't get in trouble as a kid. Grew up in a one-parent home, but and got in trouble. So hey, by no means I did the same thing. But I'm saying is having two parents, you know, straight out baller in football, has got $100,000 a year job, and somebody comes with another opportunity. You jump on this opportunity. Now you're in the money line, making $700,000. This goes 7 years, right? So pop out, have fun, party, and boom. What happened? Did you have any idea? Let me step back. Let me let you answer this question. What led up to you getting caught? What happened? Take us through it.
Well, what happened was I had become paranoid. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where you just starting to you feel that you're doing too much. You feel like and it ain't all legitimate. You just start feeling like, and then that other people, that other people knowing that something is going on. And it's so funny because I got to a point where I was going home about 30 different ways. I remember I used to park. I remember I got to a point where I would park like 2 blocks from my house and then climb the neighbor's rocks and then walk through the back of it and then across the street into the back of it, walk through the people's yards standing up on the rocks to get to my house. I just felt like I was being looked at, or I just felt something was wrong.
Yeah.
I had bought a couple of businesses. I ended up buying a mailbox. It was a mailbox, etc.
Yeah.
And I had ended up buying a mailbox, etc. And I ended up purchasing a flower shop. And I was like, man, I got to start doing some things. And both, and the flower shop started doing really well. I had contracts with funeral homes, and things were going well. And so I was just trying to figure out, okay, what can I do with this? What can I do? But one day at work, when I was at the business, Feds rolled up in there. Right. And I was like, right. The Feds had rolled up in there, and they was like, is that you? And so they arrested me that day and brought me in. It was a bail. It was in 2000. That was in 2001. And so I end up, it was 2001. And so I end up being, they end up letting me go. I had a $10,000 bond. So I guess it's 100,000. 10% of that's 10,000. And so, and so I got out, but then that was the start of the ending of that life.
Got it. So what did they arrest you for? What were the charges?
So it was so funny. So on a conspiracy, you don't necessarily have to be doing exactly what the indictment is, as long as you are involved. Yeah. And so if you're involved, you can put everybody in it. Almost, I guess the best way to explain that is that if a person is in a car and they have friends that robbed the bank, and what they do was drove the getaway car, they're still gonna get you on robbing the bank because you're part of that conspiracy. And so that's what it was. So it was end up like, at the end of the day, it was like 500. It was a conspiracy of like, I don't know, like 500 pounds of marijuana. It might have been like 100 pounds of cocaine, another 200 pounds of crack cocaine. So yeah, man. And I still remember to this day, man. The judge looked at me, man, and he said, "The United States of America finds you, Elgin Ray Lofton, guilty." And then hit me with that 188 months, man. I still, to this day, Rich, I feel like I shitted on myself. To this day, Rich. And I'm not one to curse a lot or anything, but I'm just giving my exact feelings, how I felt like. And I'm like, United States of America, man, who am I going against?
Yeah.
You know, and at that time, Rich, I look back at my mom's, you know, God bless her heart, and my sister, my brother, they were there. And so when you get arrested and when they sentence you in federal prison. They sentence you to months. They don't give you you don't say years. They just give you months. And I think that's I think they don't want the people who in attendance to go crazy or act wild or lose it. Because I see my mother trying to count 188 months on her face. God bless her soul and her, man. You know what I mean? It was a lot of counting. And so, you know, they don't do years. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm saying, man, all of a sudden, Rich, that was the saddest day of my life. And I'm looking at myself like, man, I'm 32. I'm 32 years old. I'm not gonna get out to 49. You know, I couldn't see that deep, Rich. That was too dark. That was too far. Right. You know, and that was just so depressing. And all of a sudden, within a week, I became super depressed. And I was like, I can't do this, man. I'm gonna check out.
Wow.
I remember saying that, check out. I remember, like, within the first few days of being locked up, I already had learned from a couple people that told me, man, I got the sheets. I already had tightened it up. I said, I'm gonna do this, man. Because I was walking around with that dark cloud, and I just couldn't see myself during that time. And I'm like, the best years of my life are over with. I said, I'm 32 now, getting out at 49. You know, I would get out. And so at that time, I'm like, I remember when we were in high school, we saw and somebody was 50. We was like, man, they old.
Yeah, they about to die.
They about to die. They old, man. And we was like, I couldn't see that, Rich. And so I got there and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I was too much of a coward to do it. Everything inside of me wanted to do it, Rich. Everything inside of me wanted to just go ahead and just do that, because I knew I couldn't do that time. I didn't want to do that time, and so I walked around for another week or so, just sad again. And I said, I got to do it this time, man. I got to do it now. And that's all I'm hearing is just negative stuff about me now. Everybody bad, everybody, and that wasn't healthy. And I said, I'm doing it. And I had another dude with me in the cell, and he said, his exact words were like, he said, nigga, you gonna do it, you gonna fake it. You gonna do it, you gonna fake it this time. He said, if you gonna do it then. You know, he said, and I'm like, I'm doing it. Hey, man, I got everything together. I was ready to do it, Rich, again. And I sit up there and just start crying. He said, you know, his exact words was, "They got bullshit, some pussy ass shit. If you're gonna do it, do it." And I sat up there and just cried for an hour, Rich, writing this. And you know, I look at it and I just say now that that was the best decision that I ever made in my life is not doing it. And now that I look at the best thing that ever happened to me also in my life was that judge sentencing me to all that time. I can sit back there, even though I come out of prison and my kids are grandparents now. You know, I come out of prison and I lost all of them years, but what I've learned and who I am today, Rich, I just thank God for His grace, giving me a second chance at life. Mm-hmm. You know, it was the journey, man. The journey was beautiful. After about the second year, I was able to, because it takes about 2 or 3 years once you're doing real fair time to leave the streets alone, because you're still in the streets for the first few years.
Right.
You know? After that, it's like, okay, I'm just doing my time now. This is just how it is. And then after a few years, you don't even dream on the streets no more. Every dream I had was in prison, you know. And so, time moved forward, and I don't know. I don't know. You have another question, but I can go on and on, man. But
Well, I want to go on. I want to ask you. I want to continue with that, but I want to ask you this one question. How did they convict you? What was the evidence? Did somebody tell?
yeah.
How did they convict you? I mean, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Because at the end of the day, it was multiple people in a conspiracy. Multiple people in a conspiracy. So when at the end, you gotta take a. If you're trying to get some time off, especially if you have a history, it was a few people who already been locked up already a couple of times, so they already had multiple felonies. So when you already got multiple felonies against you, that's when that's when they can come to you and be like, okay, I'm hitting you with a third strike. You about to really do some real time. And so those dudes, they get to the point where then they were like, I can't do that. So they was taking pleas. They was taking pleas for 20 years, taking a 20-year plea. And so they had to talk. It was like, well, this is what I do. This is where I was sent it to. And so it started coming out that everybody who started taking plea bargains was like, okay, man, this is where I send it to. This is where I send it to. This is where I send it to. And it was coming up with these multiple addresses in Las Vegas. Because when I got my mailbox, etc., I started using my mailbox spot as a spot also. Mm-hmm. And so things start coming my way. And so these dudes, they were just taking pleas. So when it came down to me, I still remember to this day, a guy said, if you take a plea right now, and tell me everything, because I can see you in the middle of everything, I'll give you 36 months.
Oh, that's nice.
And I was like, and I was like, well, what is in plea? I just say that I'm guilty. I can do that. I can just say I'm guilty. No, you got to say that you're guilty in the role that you played, in the role that everybody else played that you were dealing with. And I said, I can't do that. I can't, I said, I'm not going to do that one. I said, but if you just ask me just to say if I'm guilty, I can do that. And he was like, well, you don't have no deal then. And you know how many times when I first got locked up, I said to myself, man, I said to myself, man, I should have just told him, especially after my guy ended up telling.
So you got Marquette. So what does Marquette do?
Well, in self-defense of him, they threatened his wife, and they threatened who was pregnant at the time with twins. I think she was 4 months pregnant, and with twins, and they was like, we're gonna indict her too, and they did indict her. And when they told him that if he told what he knew and the role that he played, that they would take her off the indictment, and her children and their twins wouldn't be born in prison. Wow! And so he had a choice to make. And so a lot of the dudes that's with the indictment, they like, F him. We gonna kill him. That's how dudes that felt at the time. It was like, nah, well, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. That's their attitude. And, the job was dangerous when you took it.
That's right.
And so it was like, she had to go down too. And so, but he did that. And, I think I still look back on the day, and I thank God that he never gave me an angry heart towards Cat, where I just felt that he did what he felt. Was it right? I don't think it was right, but I felt that he did what he felt that he needed to do for his family. And I've been able to look at it that way and move forward.
And that's the thing you do. I guess God forgives us for his sake. You got to do that for your sake. So how much time does Marquette end up getting?
He ended up doing the time I was supposed to do. He ended up doing like 4 years.
Wow. 4. Okay. So wait a minute. So he's the mastermind behind the operation.
Okay? Right.
You guys get busted.
Right.
He does 4 years.
Right.
You get 100 was 188 months?
Uh-huh.
And then how much time did the other guys get who were involved?
We got we got 230s, 20, 27. We got so dudes that he was in charge of he would have got their time. We got the two dudes that got the 30. He at least would have got that. And then we got one dude with 27.
Wow. He gets 4 years.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so the crazy thing about it was just that, the judges these days, they're so numb to the time that they give out now.
No, right.
And that's just their job. Just in my case that day, judge gave out 200 some years, and it was nothing. But again, at the end of the day, though, Rich, what this comes down to is that if I would not have been doing what I was doing, I would have never been in that situation in the first place.
That's right.
You always got to go back. You always got to go back to the root of things in life. And the root was, if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, if I wasn't doing what I shouldn't have been doing, it wouldn't have been nothing to be upset about.
Right. Wow. So you said after 3 years, you go back to why you're staying. You said you start to get acclimated. You start to get acclimated into that life. You know what I mean? After 3, 4, 5 years. So while you're in there, what is life like? Are you reading a lot of books? You just trying to figure out what went wrong? How are you doing your time? And not letting your time do you?
I think first and foremost, I gotten back into the relationship that I had with Christ growing up as a child. I was at a point that I remember my mom said it was a little bit different because I had to really I had to study. The scriptures talk about study to show thyself approved. I had gotten to that point where I really had to study and see if this was true. This was really true. Because Mama always said, like, just trust Jesus, baby. Just trust Jesus. And my thing was, I'm like, have you seen Jesus?
Yeah, right.
And so the situation that I was in, I needed more than just trust Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to know as much as I can, and not saying I'm not the one to say your faith is wrong, your faith is wrong, your faith is wrong, your faith is wrong. I'm not the one to say that. But my thing is, I was going to attack the faith that I grew up on. And so I started my pursuit of getting back into my Christian faith.
Got it.
And so, go ahead.
So that means that you're doing like a Bible study, like church services inside there. You were going to all those? Yes.
Bible studies. I got really deep into the studies. As far as when you're doing penitentiary time, you'll get a lot of attack towards being Black and being a Christian, in a sense, because you deal with a lot of the brothers with the nation. You're dealing with a lot of brothers with the Nation of Islam and Minister Farrakhan. And first and foremost, what I would like to say is that I've done some studying of Farrakhan, and I listened to his tapes. And Farrakhan is solid. He's blessed me with a lot of things. One thing that he has blessed me with, Farrakhan always says, speak the people's language. And so I use that to this day, being able to speak the people's language of who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a certain type of people, speak their language and go and move forward. Or if you're dealing with someone else, speak their language. So I've learned some things from them, but that wasn't my way, and that wasn't the way for me.
So Christianity is the way for you, right?
For me, yes.
Yeah. So then you do your time, and so take us to year 10, because you do end up doing around 14. So you're year 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got 4 years to go.
Mm-hmm.
So take us from year 10. What is that like now? You looking forward to coming home? You on the countdown?
Well, I mean, like from 2008 on, I was getting positive because number one was 2008.
When did you go in? I forgot to ask you. When did you go in?
02.
02. Got it. Okay.
2000. So in 2008, Obama won.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And so it was just kind of being, and Eric Holder, he chose Eric Holder to be his top dog as far as dealing with the BOP and dealing with the prison and dealing with the laws. And so the word was that Obama's gonna, and Eric Holder, they'll get together and they're gonna try to change some things. They're gonna try to work on some things. So I had a slight hope at that time that maybe I won't have to do all of this or whatever. And as time goes, we start seeing them working on laws, and we start seeing them talking about the ratio between cocaine and crack cocaine, and how that can reduce time. And so I can go a little bit into that. As people know, is that crack cocaine comes from cocaine. Mm-hmm. However, though, if you had this much of cocaine, you're getting no time. But if you got this much of crack cocaine, you get 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. And mind you, that crack cocaine comes from cocaine. Yeah. And so they were saying, so what happened was you start seeing that was the racial bias. They knew that the crack cocaine was a black and brown drug, black people and Hispanic people, and they knew cocaine was a white person drug. And so they saying, well, how can you get sentenced for all this time from a drug that's made out of your drug? And you get in this. And so they started, so that's when the disparity of drugs and then the length of sentences starting to come out. So eventually some things have passed, and so that was creating some big news. So I end up not having to do due to that last year and a half. I didn't have to do it my time. That last end of it, when things came around, and I end up being able to come home in 2016.
2016. So I know your wife. When did you meet her? Was that before you went in, or when did you meet your?
Well, my second wife. My second wife. She went to UNLV, and we dated, but it was nothing serious. It was nothing serious, but we I guess we should say we hung out. Mm-hmm. And what happened was that the moment I got locked up, my mother and father kind of like took over. They were like power attorney of everything with me. And people tried to get in contact with me all the time, and she wouldn't let people get in contact with me. They wouldn't give my information out to no one. But one particular day, one of my good friends, a roommate that I had in college, called my house, and he said, "Can I have Elgin's number? I would like to get a hold of him and talk with him. I mean, his address. I'd like to get a hold of him and talk with him." And so my dad ended up giving him the number, but he got the number. He wanted my number because of the young lady who wanted my number, and he ended up giving it to her. And she ended up writing me. This is someone I haven't talked to in years or seen in years. And she ended up writing me a nice, beautiful letter, but it wasn't about relationships. It was about her relationship that she was in, because she was living and she had a relationship. But she had said, "I just miss a friend and I wanted to come support and visit." And she ended up coming and ended up supporting and ended up coming to visit. And, the rest is history, Rich.
That's beautiful, man. Man, you take something. When you get in them letters like that and living on time, man, that helps, bro. That helps.
I know.
Because your letters, that just keeps you, that's your connection to the outside world, and what's good is some letters, man. For somebody to get man, that's a blessing. That's a real blessing, having a young lady do that.
Right.
So, you end up getting out early, and okay, let's take us to the day before you get in release. What's going on?
I'm still nervous. At the time, I'm not going home to my wife, because at that time we're having some conflict at that time. So I say, you know what, I'm just gonna go home to my parents. And that was the best decision that was made, to go home to my parents. So, and the reason why that ended up being the best decision is because if I didn't go home to my parents, I wouldn't be able to spend time with my dad. He ended up passing. So I was able to spend quality time with Pops before he ended up passing. And so everything worked out for the good, even in a situation where I thought like, because I made that move to go home to my parents because just me and my wife at the time we were just butting heads on so many things. And I said, I'm just gonna go home. But the day before, she ended up visiting me that whole weekend, and she was like, well, I'm just gonna drive you to your parents' house then. And so, but it was definitely nervous. I knew I was coming home. I knew that I knew that I needed to catch up. I knew that I would be behind. All of a sudden I knew, and so I'm like, I wasn't sure where I was going to work. I wasn't sure who was going to hire me. I knew I had felons. I still was like, I was trusting God, but at the same time, I still had some doubt for just being gone so long, Rich. And so, but I just thankful that I had family. I'm thankful that I had the wife. I'm thankful I had my parents. I think sisters and brothers. I think you need help after you've done so much time. You need help because you especially if you've done a lot of times, because you get in a position where you just you allow the prison mentality to kind of like dictate the person that you are, and even how you think. So I was able to spend solid time with my dad. After that, I ended up moving back to Vegas, moving for the first time, moving in with my wife. And then I was able to start work. But the one thing I wanted to do, Rich, was go back to school.
Okay.
Because remember, it was those 2 classes that I didn't get.
Right.
Unfortunately, though, those 2 classes, I was happy and I was blessed. So, but after I got my transcript, sent them in, talked to an academic advisor, they said, well, the good thing is, we're going to accept you. We're going to let you finish school. I said, well, what's the bad thing? They said, well, it's not 2 more classes no more. It's 13 classes.
Yeah.
It's 13 classes. And I was like, well, okay, I think I can do that. I was still saying, but I wasn't sure if I can do that because, Rich, as an athlete, we get so much help as an athlete.
Yeah.
We're not real students.
Right.
In a sense, we really get a lot of help. We get great tutors. We get the right professors that love the athletes and come to all the games. And so, we had those things, but I was like, okay, 13 classes, just me as a student. But I was able to do it, and not just do it, Rich. I was honor roll. I was honor roll for 13 classes. I had a 3.4 average, doing things on my own, and I was able to get my bachelor's degree. And so now I'm back at the university, and I'm moving forward with the master's degree in the master's program.
Wow, man, that's your bachelor's degree. So, a lot of times when people get out, especially doing time that long, and I know I said you had a family that really helped you. They end up going back, and you haven't looked back, man. You've been going forward. You got your bachelor's degree, working on your master's. So what do you contribute? You contribute to having a lot of family, obviously, your walk with Christ, but your family support, your wife, is that what you contribute, not going back?
I do. Like you said, first and foremost, I give all the faith and all the glory to my faith, but that's my spiritual strength, but as far as my physical strength and physical needs, and my parents, my mother now, just my mom, and my wife, my brothers, sisters, they've been solid. They've been able to give me the right words when I get a little tired, when I get a little down, because no one said it was going to be easy, because none of this has been easy.
Man.
But none of this has been easy, and it's still not easy. But I'm at a point now where I walk by, again, I take the scriptures. I really walk by faith and not by sight. Because if I was to walk by sight, I would have been like, okay, I can't get this, or I can't get this. They're not going to allow me to do this. And so a lot of things I have found out is just I keep pushing. I was told that I wouldn't be able to get a job or a solid job, and that's been a lie. And so I was told I'll never fellas, you're never to leave the country. And so here I am. I send my passport and get and there you go. I get a passport in the mail, and and so I've been, I've been traveling countries now. And so I tell guys right now, and the rule came out in California a few years ago. Now it's out here in Nevada. And so I tell these guys who just get out, I say where they can't ask you if you're a felon, and they can't ask you if you're a felon. They just passed in Las Vegas, and so and the thing is, because it gives you the opportunity now to have a great interview and allow the person to judge you, opposed to him already knowing his preconceived idea of, okay, you a felon, I'm not even gonna hire him. I'm not even gonna waste my time. Yeah. Now they got a decision to make once they speak to you and hear your knowledge or whatever you're applying for. And now they can be like, and then they find out, and so now they got a decision to make, like, damn, I really like him, but he got a felon. And now, but you rather have it that way opposed to them knowing that you a felon already from the start, and so in their mind is already predetermined.
Got it. Makes sense. So let me ask you this question. Have you had any contact with the people who your crimies?
No.
If you saw Marquette and you guys had a sit down, what would you say to him?
That's a good question. I guess I've kind of played that in my mind, but I really would just like to let him know that I'm not mad at him. I know he feels that we're mad at him. I think that he's had a rough enough time dealing with that as it is, and it's not for me to put that added pressure on him. I look at it again. I go back to the root, and the root is if I wouldn't have been doing that in the first place, I wouldn't have put myself in that position. I know my crimies, they don't have that. They don't think that way, and they're upset. I know how they feel, and it's not for me to tell them they're wrong, because I have to honor how they feel. But me moving forward, I've chosen not to be upset, and I've been blessed. God's been good to me.
Yeah. So that's how you do that. Not be upset and not be bitter at him, man. I guess that's nothing but God, because most people in your situation be real, like your crimies. They saw him. No telling what they do.
Right. No doubt.
Wow, man.
No doubt.
So he hasn't reached out to you, anything like that, right?
He did reach out while I was in.
Okay.
Yeah, while I was in, he reached out, and I didn't say anything. And I know he's feeling this. He might be feeling a certain way about things. Yeah. And I'm sure that, and even now, I'm sure that he checks on. He checks to see what's going on with me. And so that's well. Yeah, he knows I'm good.
That's right, and he knows you good, because we all seen you good. I remember because that's the one thing I miss about Kevin, man, is that Kevin kept everybody connected. So I was just go back how I found out, because it was a trip. I had heard, I knew you had got your mailbox business, your flower business, and I'd heard you were doing really, really well in LV and everything. That's why I'd heard, latest like 2000s. And then Kevin called me, because Kevin actually pulled the article, because it was like, you can Fed case, all you gotta do, you can Google that. And he was reading it to me, and I've been sitting there with my mouth on the floor. I'm like, Elgin? This is Elgin? I'm like, nah. Kevin was like, yeah, man, this is what happened, man. I'm like, dang, man. And it was just a shock to me, man. I just felt so bad for you, bro. When you had that time, when I think when Kevin told me how much time you got, I was like, oh man, because we were talking about you and we were talking about Ike.
Right.
Two brothers just got caught up. You know what I mean? Just got caught up. I mean, unfortunately, Ike ain't never getting out. But I remember Kevin. That's what Kevin kind of guy Kevin was. When I came home in the 90s, I only did a short bit of time. I got sent to the prison. I shouldn't have went. But my feeling is like you. Did I deserve to go for the time that I went? Did I deserve to go to prison at all? No. But if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I never would have been there. And that's how I helped release that and get myself over it. When I came home, Kevin was there at my house waiting for me. And when you came home, he called me and said, hey, L is out. I'm going to see him. You coming? I said, yeah, I'm coming. And we show up at your house. We came over and saw you that day. And yeah, man. And we just wanted to welcome my boy home, man. So now look, you're out. You got your bachelor's degree. Oh, let me ask you, where are you getting your master's in?
Oh, I'm in a social work. I'm dealing with trauma.
Dealing with trauma. That's beautiful, man. So what's next for you, man? What are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna be mentor social work? You'll mentor boys? Because you got this compelling story, man. So
right. Well, at this time though, I really want to do therapist work with those who are just getting out the penitentiary. When you first get out, your mind is so warped, especially for those who've done a certain amount of time, the way they think. And so being able to just sit with these fellas and being able to understand the different levels of penitentiary, understanding jailhouse rules, being able to understand them, and not telling these brothers that you're wrong. It's just wanting to be able to give them other options of how to look at things in life. Because you have to stop thinking a certain way because the way you thought in prison, it wasn't wrong. That's how you were going to survive. You know what I mean? But you can't live that way once you get out of prison, and you got to change quickly. It's a reason why the recidivism rate is the way it is. And so, I really would like to go ahead and move forward and play a part with those who have been locked up, done a lot of time, and just helping them, adjust to coming home.
Man, that's powerful. And I know that God has just so many blessings down the pike for you because, we got to go through these things, man. Paul, wrote a lot of his letters from prison. He ended up being one of the most prolific writers in the New Testament. Some of the most profound things were done behind them bars. When King wrote his letters, when he was behind the bars, one of his most famous letters he written while he was in prison. So, it's these stories, man. I always say that it takes people like you to rescue those brothers, because too many of us black men are locked up for whatever reason, and they're not going to listen to some dude who ain't never done time, some white guy that grew up in Mayberry. They definitely ain't gonna listen to him, and they're not gonna listen to a brother who grew up in Mayberry either. I think it's in Jude, and I think it's 1:25 where it says you got to go back in the fire to rescue your brother. Love him, but hate the fire that is scorned his hate the sin or something like that that has scorned his garments. But it takes a brother like you, man, that's gonna save the masses, man. And I'm just proud of you, man. And just I look forward to seeing what you got next coming, what God has next for you.
I think one thing that you were saying though, Rich, I believe there is something about suffering that attributes to a person's growth. I think that the quote unquote where I am today and how I'm able to be a blessing to others is because of things that I suffered while I was locked up, and through the suffering, that's where my most growth has come. And it's you hate to say things like that, but it was through my saddest, my most depressing of days is where my most growth has come, where I'm able to be a blessing to others. So without a doubt, those letters that Paul wrote, those times, even though he had the Spirit with him and knew God was with him, those are some very depressing days. And the same thing with Dr. King, the place that you are in, mentally, physically, emotionally, has a lot to do with a person's wisdom and overall growth.
Yeah, man. You know what? Point. I think the most powerful thing about that is what Paul and King and everybody else who's done these prolific things is that it's hard. It's so hard. And like these brothers coming out of prison, it's so hard to see the light, man, when you got the weight of the world on you. You got all this stuff weighing on you. Not you know, hey, look, I'm still struggling with this, you know, I'm still struggling with this myself. You know, it's like you got the weight of the world on you, and you're in this funk, and it's hard to see, it's hard to be positive. And the fact that you can do that in the midst of your storm, because it's easy to celebrate and help other people when your life is great. But when your life is going bad, when you're dealing with pain, when you're dealing with trauma yourself, and you can get out of self and help other and reach out and help your brother, that's when you're super powerful, man.
Right.
That's where you at, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, I really enjoyed you, man.
Yes,
I really enjoyed you, man. God bless you, my man. You know, I got nothing but love and respect for you, brother. And we gonna stay in touch. And I told you that you and I gonna, you know, we gonna do something big together, man. Because God has some great things for you, man. I can see it. And yeah, brother. And we, you know, we can't be strangers, man.
No, we can't.
Hey, brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. We gonna have you back on. This ain't gonna be the last time we do this, my man.
Okay. Extra large and 2X on that Kingdomhood.
I'm bringing you one, man. When I come to Vegas, man, I'm bringing you a hat. Okay, I'm bringing you a shirt and everything, my man.
Right, because I need to be repping that. I can get it out.
Oh yeah, man, I got you. Oh yeah, for sure, I got you, bro.
I can get it out. I go to school right now. People, they always want to talk about the old head. Anyway, they call me Unc. They call me Unc at school. So I'll be like, okay, yeah. So now I know. They be like Kingdom. They be like, you know, they be talking Kingdomhood. I'm like, well, I say, go check it out. Go see what it's all about.
Yeah, go check it out. Oh, I'm gonna bring you a t-shirt and a tank top, man. Cause I know it's hot as hell here.
It's hot as hell.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring you one. Yeah, man. So you know. Man, you're gonna be talking at school at Harvard and all them. They're gonna be calling you to Harvard to come talk. You know, they always have next go to Harvard. They had one of my boys who's, you know, he's over one of the major games in LA, had him go to Harvard. So they want to hear your story, man. So you're gonna be at Harvard. You are gonna travel to travel the world, man.
Okay,
shows, brother.
Hey, Rich, I
claim it.
Okay, hey, yeah, you speaking into existence. All I want to say, Rich, is that, hey, man, I like what you're doing. I like what you're doing, and you know, you're consistent with it.
Yeah.
You know, and persistence is so much. I want to thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir.
Anytime you need me, I think a person has to be able to. You know, you can't bless other people unless you're able to get it out.
That's right.
You know, it's people in your position, or people who've been through, you know, people who have been through what you've been through and don't think there's no way out, or there's nothing. I think it may just all be over. I'm wasting time now, and I want you to know I might have thought like that for a minute, but it's not. You know, as long as you breathe, then, man, you still have an opportunity.
That's right. As long as you breathe, we gonna stay in the fight together. I think the thing is, man, is that, you know, we got to stay in the fight together. You know, they said this. You know, the Bible said there's safety in the multitude of counsel. So us as counsel, man, we in this fight together. I got your back, man. What you said, wheels fall off, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Appreciate you, Rich.
Thanks for coming to Kingdomhood Conversation, my man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Respect, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right, next time.
Yes, sir, bro.
All right, later on, brother.